Hi everybody, my name is Scott Walls. For over 25 years, I've deployed ERP applications for some of the world's largest organizations. During that time, I've taught thousands of people just like you how to discover, use, deploy, and support Oracle's back office software. In this lesson, I'm going to teach you about supplier registration or the supplier registration application. Please note that this lesson is part of the supplier registration course found within the procurement functional area under the Discover menus. But before we get started, did you know that you could earn free discovery badges for display on your LinkedIn profile just by watching videos like this one? You can. Stay until the end of this video and I'll show you how. Okay, so let's get started. Key topics for this lesson are as follows. What is a registration transaction? Supplier registration types and subtypes. When do suppliers register? How do suppliers register? Who registers suppliers? And then finally, why do suppliers register? First topic, what is supplier registration or a registration transaction? Supplier registration is the process of a supplier requesting self-service access to its customers' procurement applications in order to create, change, and view mutual transactions. So some notes down here on the bottom that suppliers access their customer's application via what's called the supplier portal. Suppliers register as prospective or spend authorized. We'll talk about those under types. Contractual counterparties also register as suppliers and supplier contacts. A little bit that depends on how you configure, but if you think about it, in order to interact, we need to have an idea of who someone is as a counterparty. Need to be inside the application. And then lastly, registration transactions must be approved to become suppliers. This is really important because people sometimes confuse or mix the registration transaction with a supplier transaction. They are two very different transactions and based on your type, behave differently. Okay, so second topic, supplier registration types and subtypes. So similar to what you saw in the supplier overview, FPC, or what we in slang call Fusion Procurement Cloud, has two different supplier relationships, spend authorized and prospective. Spend authorized is a full-blown supplier, prospective is what we often call a bidder. You'll notice that both relationships or types are enabled for sourcing. Makes sense. But when you get into spend authorized, they can have contracts, orders, invoices, and payments. One last comment is to get from prospective to spend authorized. That process is called promotion. That's important because if you think about it, the goal of a bidder is to get them in as fast as possible with as little information or resistance as possible. And there needs to be a metric or something that then goes back to capture the additional supplier attributes and information. And so it's a defined process inside Fusion called promotion. Okay, so third topic, when are registrations created? So again, we'll stay with our standard procurement flow here, where procurement services have both purchasing and sourcing. So purchasing largely revolves around self-service, finding pre-negotiated content. So if you have content, you have a supplier. You don't need to register or even create a supplier. It's only when you don't have content and you perform what's called an on-catalog request, then you're going to source or find different suppliers, asking them to register and so on. Fourth topic, how are registrations created? So within Fusion, there's really two ways. The page you see here is the externally facing page, meaning that this is public. You don't need a username and a password, or more importantly, your supplier doesn't. Send them an email or they see it this page accessed off your procurement homepage, website. They click it and they go through this process. It's a bit of an iterative process. They put in some information, submit. Inside procurement can ask for more information, or what I call supplier control, can ask for more information. That's the external process. If you're also global or you have very different lines of business, you may ask for a subset of data in this process and then have line of business or legal entity specific, what they call initiatives, that ask for more information or qualifications So basically more information in what's called an initiative, and those might be more specific to your lines of business or regions, etc. But that's all part of the external registration process. There's also an internal registration where somebody inside the organization will register on behalf of the supplier. You also see this functionality extended sometimes for different payees, like refunds for hospitals or tax refunds for cities, but these all involve internal or external registration. So who creates registration? Well, again, depending. If it's external, this is probably the bidder or the supplier or whoever this third party is. If it's internal, then you probably have somebody in procurement or you have somebody throughout the organization. But they register, review and approve. There's that process we talked about again, promotion, when you go from prospective to spend authorized and then they're a supplier. So last slide, why are registrations created? Well, they can be used to capture certification to get secure banking, supplier self-classification that helps us with sourcing to them later. There's any number of different, you actually can see the train stops in the image on the right-hand side. So company details, contacts, addresses, business classifications, bank accounts. And then questionnaires is really where you can ask open-ended or ask them to download documents or terms or sign, upload, right? You can really run the gamut of what you want there. It's also worth noting registrations are specific to a procurement business unit. So now you can have portals very easily for different units across different regions, languages, etc. And then lastly, the real reason is that you want to always push the point of capture out from a strategy standpoint on the value of these applications and increase your productivity. So let's recap about supplier registration, the what, how, when, where, who, and why of registering suppliers you should now understand, as well as registration types and subtypes. If you're still not sure, watch it again, it's free. But if you understand the material, it's time to move on to the next lesson in this course. So that's the end of this presentation, but it doesn't have to be the end of your learning journey. There are thousands of free videos just like this one. Remember, better content, better skills, better income, better life. We want to help you get 1% better every day. Thank you for watching and have a great day. Okay, as promised, here are the 5 steps you can perform today to start earning free badges for your LinkedIn profile. Step 1, navigate to Panameer.com and either sign in or join now. It's free. Step 2, in the upper left, under the Discover menu, select the course that you want to watch and get badged for. Step 3, watch all of the different video lessons in that course. Step 4, when it's complete, send your LinkedIn profile and the course you watched and your user ID to badges@Panameer.com. And then sit back and wait for step 5 when we attach a badge to your LinkedIn profile.